So let's start this broadcast today by looking at, first of all, a comparative table from the AI about diabetes, the DIA, the type 1 and type 2. And what I want to really focus on is autoimmune condition. And in this case here, the autoimmune condition is where the immune system attacks insulin producing cells in the pancreas. Of course, we know the pancreas have these cells called the beta cells which produce insulin, and so it seems like in the diabetic 1 patient the immune system is attacking the pancreas. Now keep this as a very important note, because we may not see anything like that happening in terms of our treatment. Here we see this one is said to be the metabolic condition, where the body becomes resistant to insulin or does not produce enough. So there are two factors here within type 2, and maybe that's why they call it type 2. I know that's not what they call it type 2, but there are two factors here. One, it does not produce, and two, the factors here says the cells of the body does not respond. So there are two factors with type 2, and with type 1 we have mainly one factor, which is type 1 factor is no production. So the similarity here, of course, is production in both type 1 and type 2 is not happening properly. And production of insulin, which is a protein, of course, comes about because you have to provide amino acids. You have to have the amino acids to provide the insulin molecule, the insulin, two chains of the insulin, to get them to make the peptide or the hormone, or the, well, you call it hormone, but it's protein. And you have to have the working organ, which is the beta cells of pancreas. Okay, so let's assume, and I guess you have to have little nutrients to bring it together. You have to have energy and stuff, but let's assume you are putting in amino acids, you're eating egg, fish, meats, you're digesting well. Let's just assume that, which is where the assumption would come and show you why these things may be your case. And let's assume that your beta cells of the pancreas is working. So then you have to ask yourself, why isn't it that we are producing? Now let's look at type 1, which says autoimmune. Now autoimmune means your immune cells are attacking the immune cells are attacking the body itself, or it seems as if the immune cells are attacking the body. Now let's just quickly run through this so we could focus on these immune cells attacking the body in another chapter. Onset, I don't care about that cause we don't know. Well, I don't care about that. Insulin production, little to no insulin produced by the pancreas. They should have said here the beta cells of the pancreas, and the body becomes resistant, or the cells of the body where insulin is required for glucose to come in becomes resistant. That's the first one we discussed. And the second one, there isn't enough insulin being produced. Okay, and if insulin is not being produced, then we know that the glucose will stay in the blood and cause a lot of issues. Specifically, it will stick to the protein on the red blood cells, and then you have AGE taking place, which is like you frying your own self in your own fat or your own oil. Symptoms, treatment. Okay, requires insulin therapy, blood sugar monitoring, healthy eating, and exercise. So this is very good, because if you don't produce insulin, and you always would get the glucose floating around in the blood, regardless of you having a low sugary based diet, mean low carb diet, you still would have glucose floating around, and you do need insulin to help the glucose to get into the cells, where glucose goes into the cells by the escort insulin. Now this one you often manage lifestyle, exercise, oral medication, and sometimes insulin. That is when your beta cells really becomes bad and your blood sugar levels skyrocketing, because it's either you eat a lot of sugar, and if you're not eating a lot of sugar and you start realizing your blood sugar levels are becoming higher and higher, it means that your insulin is not doing its job, so you may need a shot of insulin. Of course, in my thinking, you practice things like using lime to control blood sugar coming from the gut to help monitor that. But we'll see how this works, and I think my theory goes down there well. Prevention, risk factors, management, and complications. So the complications would spill out, and I'll show you why my theory goes into that level. So let's go to the next segment of this video. I wrote an article 16th of March about Phyllanthus aphidus, which is called damson in Grenada. I got some damson from again, everything is happening by vision and dreams. I had this inclination that I needed this thing, and there was a lot, so I made some posts and stuff like that. Now, this is by research. You could quickly jump across to AI Health Insight. You will see the link in the bio. This by research, this fruit, which we call star gooseberry, damsel in Grenada, sour cherry in Trinidad and other places, you have it abundantly all around the place. A sour tasting fruit, and it's available around mid-March, but I also saw some outside now, like right now in August, so I have to pick some more. But Phyllanthus seems to be very good for helping the pancreas in terms of research, and I wouldn't go through this there, but the liver and the pancreas are involved in the relationship here, CEO and manufacturing agency. I don't know how they work, but they work together. Now, I found this study on a similar plant, which is called the Indian gooseberry, and they show that it is good for pancreatic regeneration, and it increases the number of beta cells in the pancreas. That is the one from India, which is called the Indian gooseberry. You could look up that. Now, this is what I'm really behind to help myself and help others who might be following me, that we need to know these things. So they say that Phyllanthus acidus has the similar compounds, and it might have the similar effect on helping regeneration. Now, that's one study, and then another study said the antioxidant property of the Phyllanthus acidus. And here I did extract just little notes, nothing specifically. But the use of damsel in rats and liver function, so there was a specific study done here, as you could see, World Journal of Pharmacy and Pharmaceuticals, I guess. They would have looked directly at this plant, well, commonly known as gooseberry, as we say, damsel in Grenada, and you would find that research on my website, or you could Google it, and they have shown that it has some property in helping restore the beta cells. Now, as a diabetic, you would not, I don't think you generally understand what is happening at the root cause. At the root cause, insulin production being critical to control the glucose level. Simply put, insulin escorts glucose to bring it into certain cells. Not all cells, but a lot of cells in the body needs insulin to go, because insulin walks along with glucose and knocks the door of the cell and tell the owner of the house, which is those inside the cells, it tells them, here is some sugar, would you like to take it? Insulin does that job. Without insulin, the glucose cannot go up to the people's house. That's how it works. So in a nutshell, and so what we are seeing is, if you do not have the production of insulin, then you need to get the insulin injection. The insulin injection, of course, brings insulin in your body. Therefore, it's like you just manufactured insulin and you get glucose level control. Now, if you are on that path, that's fine. You have insulin injection. If you are on the position of finding a way to naturally get your insulin production up, then that is great. That is great. So you don't, you start controlling more and more of your glucose level in your blood. So this is another study that shows here Phyllanthus acidus for the treatment of diabetes and related complication. How is it doing that? The mechanism is discussed in the paper if you want to hear. This is a fruit. Star gooseberry is a fruit. We call it damson, and it seems to be very, very critical in helping the diabetic. The leaves could be boiled and drank. Also has the same property as the fruit. So both the leaves, so when you go through this paper, you see they speak about the root, the leaves, the bark, all being important, and they would have stripped the compound. So the bark, the leaves, the root, the fruits, and they show what each part have. Now for the leaves and the fruit, it has hepatoprotective activities, with hepato being liver-based activity. So we know that they are quite good for from a scientific perspective, we see they are good for showing the support on the liver. So it says the details of the effect. It extract shows decreasing AST, ALT, and ALP, and also the total bilirubin, which is dead red blood cells that comes to the liver, goes to the bile and stuff like that. So what we see here, it also have antimicrobial activities from the fruits, the bark, and the leaves. And they say well diffused, that means like you put it in water, you boil it, and you leave it like soak properly. Strict plates and dilution methods used against various strains of bacteria. Now this is where my theory goes. We also see it's good for cardiovascular activity, moving around. It seems to be diminishing visceral fat, which is the bad fat, subcutaneous fat also. Not too worried about that for now. So we have some support here from a research perspective about the importance of damsel, which is what we call damsel in the Caribbean. You could download these things here and come to the website and download these papers if you're so interested in seeing the power. So what we're talking about is this year for the diabetic. Now I'm going to do the theory, so you could stop the video here if this is all you were looking for, helping yourself with something that is a fruit, a vegetable, and natural product that could help the pancreas. This is what I have found so far. Of course, when you're trying to help the pancreas, I would definitely tell you it's important to also look at fatty 15, FATTY, fatty 15, as a supplement to help the cells itself regrow.